All right, ladies and gents, welcome. It is Money Tuesday, the 7th of September, 2021. Had the weekend off for Labor Day. This is now a 4-day week. Bitcoin kind of taking a little bit of a tumble here today. Started off at just over 50K at 6 a.m. My time, would have been 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then just took like a 17% drop off down to like 42 at the base, I think, was that. So other Bitcoin sector tickers taking a little tumble with that. BTCM was one, I think. Dumping there, of course, Mara and Riot falling off pretty hard. 10% move on Mara, 6% move on Riot. BT, similar thing. A lot of Bitcoin sector movers down. SPY again, not really doing a whole lot. Or just even the total market. Had a little bit of a sell-off here. But just still holding this same kind of range and channel we've been in for the past, close to a year now almost, that we've been in. 9 months, it feels like. Just going up and up and up. Dollar volume on the day around the horn on the markets. I think we're still pretty low. NASDAQ still under $200 billion volume. We're 2 hours after the close here now. NYSE $252 billion volume, and OTC's $3 billion volume. Seeing a little bit of an increase, little tick up in the dollar volume for the OTCs. Whole bunch of crap on my scanners to start the morning off. I just did not see a lot in regards to big percentage movers showing up on the scans, which was sad to see. It was a little bit weird to see. But it did also give me the opportunity to look at my watch list a little bit more closely, which I feel I don't do as precisely every single day, that I just kind of get swayed by the big shiny objects of the day, of the morning. So I did have the opportunity to look at those. Had CEI on my watch list in the morning, SPRT, looking for a first green day play. Those were my two main tickers that I played. Just different other ones. DTST was another one that I was watching that had on the watch list, mainly for this kind of little breakout level here, maybe a third day play if you want to call this one, even though it wasn't really much of a sell-off day. We did have a little actual climb here. But what's cool in this little 2-day high here, going into the weekend over the close end, was I was looking for more volume in order to push this thing in the pre-market, as it was still just kind of doging around the whole time, not really collecting a lot of volume to push this thing up. I just took it off the watch list. And of course, it's the one in this whole market that literally you get a gap up between candles, no halt here. Gap up to that high a day, test above that, nice plus 10% move pretty much right away, holding through. You didn't have to hold through this one red candle here, but not having to hold through any VWAP cracks or emotional tests here. So put in higher lows on that trend upwards. Gonna miss them. I did not think it was going to happen, especially looking on the daily too. This volume candle is still even non-existent of how it was able to push this high today, comparing it to what it did on that first day, what it needed to in order to push that much price action to the upside. It's whatever. So another lessons for me today too that I think I should have caught on a little bit earlier was this: in slower markets, or just especially just coming off of what was the craziness of the huge 2020 market, I think my range got so defined. My range of what I consider a good trade got so defined as 10%. I'm looking for a 10% block, and that should be the maximum, or that should be the minimum of what's considered a good, decent trade. Not a scalp, or not a swinging, holding for super long term 50% mover runners, but like 10% is that good range that I felt as a single, which is what I considered. I'm really looking for 10% as a minimum, and then I'm looking for the home run, which would be a 50% or anything crazy off of that. Whereas in reality, in the slower markets, or even just in these opportunities, especially that I'm playing, where I have not gotten a 10% opportunity. I've not nailed a beyond 10% opportunity in a long time, which I think should be the bigger factor in this. I got to be looking at 10% almost as a home run. And especially going over my trades in the past few months too, I'm really cutting myself. I've never run into the problem in the last few months of cutting my winners short. I've never had that problem. And I think that problem of taking profits too soon is a far better problem than holding shares on or holding size on to wait for something way more that doesn't ever eventually come. And I don't think I've been sharp enough to learn on that, be keen to that fact of, not that I should be looking for the scalps, but the moves that I think should be coming aren't going to the full extent max beyond what I think should be there. I think I've always, coming from the 2020 market, it's just drilled in my mind that I'm always undervaluing what I think the move could do. And it's just that pre-built methodology in me that I need to be waiting on for more. And the big guys too, they don't take off early. They don't get excited by the green flashing numbers, and they don't take their shares off too early. They wait for the trade to actually mature and prove out. Whereas I've not run into that problem in a long time. So I think I'm definitely going to be adjusting myself in that. And just as for right now, especially too, there's a temporary mindset change of what I view as a single, redefining that definition inside my own head of, hey, really, what am I looking for? Not necessarily that I'm looking to scout more, or I'm looking to say that 10% isn't a great trade, but especially just from learning from my own trades as well too, and what I feel like I've in the market right now that I can take. I'm really just chopping my hands off at trying to think that there's way more in the tank on all these different plays, whether it's a dip and rip, whether it's the previous morning dump pattern that I love to short that really isn't active as of right now. Any of these patterns just take off pretty much almost 80% of the position minimum, I would say, of if that move is there, if a 5% move is there, chopping that profit target goal in half to say 5% is the awesome trade that I'm looking for, and taking the position size up a notch to say when it's able to hit there, I can nail that time and time again, rinse and repeat, and just get in on those out. Because I'm getting a little bit swayed too by the fact that seeing a lot of names on different Twitter, and of course, take those with a grain of salt of all the people posting their trades on Twitter, and what it feels like everybody else and their grandma is making money except for me, right? But the tickers that I'm trading, they're producing the profit. It's not like I'm picking 100% losers every single time. And that's looking at my daily calendar record, just seeing all these red days. It's just like, okay, something's either got to be up. It's the trades we're picking, or it's the way in which we're taking these trades, because they all end up being winners at some point. But it's just the manner in which I execute them, the entries and exits, how I perceive my profit targets. And obviously now I need to adjust those. So that's what I'm going to do going forward. Getting into the trades now. SPRT was a first green day play that I was looking for. Of course, this is the crazy runner. Just absolutely ludicrous price movement, volume coming in. We are still in this backside. I think number 2, Jack Schwartz, was actually looking for hopefully another first screen day on this one, and looking for more upside on this one, because he was definitely wanting to get another short opportunity on another backside play on this one. It was holding pretty well coming into this pre-market. I liked this even more, the setup of a first green day even more, because it did have a little bit of a fake out first green day on this day, which was Wednesday, Thursday afternoon, or after hours into pre-market, where it looks good. It was a pretty hard sell-off day then, and then it looked pretty good. It was holding decently during that time frame, had a little bit of a spike even, but then just totally faded off and fell the rest of the day, blew out all those longs trying to dip by it. And then we're finding a little bit of a base here right above the $20 area. I thought that was either going to be some amount of resistance, especially if we didn't come that close in a sense, or some amount of support, I should say, that it was holding that level and keeping a super small risk level still at this point to say if it's going to slam down, even if it's going to test beyond that $20 level, I still don't want to be part of it. That's still super far from what I'm willing to take. So this was a super small position size anyway of, I think it was 10 shares in here at this point, or even 5 shares I think I started with here. Even kind of peaking out when it was gaining a little bit of volume in the pre-markets, that I thought we could go pretty parabolic if it starts to pick up speed, pick up some volume, start to break some of these pre-market levels. I thought this was going to be a safe entry at this point, but of course it was the top. Rock solid on buying the tops. And then we held under VWAP though, got a little bit of morning craziness action. I think I bought another 5 shares here at this point to get my position size up to just still super minimal on what I thought. My conviction in the trade was a lot higher than my position size was in a sense, but I think I'm smarter enough to know that with this track record that I have, that I'm just continually putting out, I got to find some amount of hit rates. Taking back on everything I said in the intro of picking winners and picking losers. Of course, I was a little bit profitable in this sense, but just got slammed down with the overhead. Continued to dunk under VWAP. Continued to press new lows the whole rest of the day. Just sad to see. Unfortunate. So that was SPRT. I don't really know what plan it has in it for the next few days. It's got to show good signs of green in order for me to try and get back in this on a, right at any amount of curling off of this backside that we're seeing on this stock. But that was the trade on that one. Small loss, taking of course, cutting it. I wanted to cut it. I think I actually had a stop in too on this one of, oh no, that was CEI. So now we get into CEI, just cutting losses quickly, saving the mental capital as it was there. I also mentioned too that I did have family over today. It was, they didn't really interfere with my trading, and I knew in the back of my head that, hey, potentially I shouldn't really be trading. And of course, taking way smaller size with them in the room, with them asking questions, going crazy like that too. But it didn't really affect me too hard. I think I was still maintaining it. I think it prompted me a little bit more to maintain a little bit more of a focus, more than I normally would have with other normal distractions of now that it was actually external, something I couldn't control, that it forced me more, almost like I'm going to compare myself to the Michael Jordan flu game, even though this was an absolutely terrible trading day, P&L wise for me, of just when it's something external, it forces you to just that little bit more in what you're doing. And I think it was kind of actually a blessing in disguise of forcing me into that awareness and making me focus in more. And of course, the opportunity to teach it as well too to others that were standing by me as well. That was SPRT CEI. CEI I had coming into the watch. I had this on the watch list coming into today. This, of course, is an energy sector play, oil and gas, independent oil and natural gas company in the U.S. Float of 25 million, reported short interest of 14%. Looking at this one for continuation or a little breakout continuation of this trend here, I knew it needed 100% a lot of volume, especially with these past days of the volume it showed here of how much it needed to get up on those days. Let's take a look like that. So yeah, knew that, and especially coming up to this $1 whole dollar area, that's a big psychological level that can play a factor in these types of trades as well too. Pre-market was holding very well. Wasn't a lot of volume at this point, but then we started to ramp up a little bit more. And this is the point too at which the family was coming in, and it was just like, do I shut them out? Do I let them in? And it started pushing a little bit more, and it was like, okay, I need to be in this. Do I push them out? It was just a difficult situation and all, but learning situation too of how to deal with that, how to know how to work that in the future. But bought in this little bit of consolidation. This looks like a pretty hard sell-off here, but it was just, I think these were very quick for what I was watching it for. It was just like bid almost fell off, but then came right back again, and then pushed higher to new high day, continued to press higher and higher and higher. And I was like, man, this thing could actually break the $1 mark in the pre-market here. I love the fact that there is no halts. It's not going to be able to get messed with pretty hard by any amount of dilution. Right away, we could just see, I love the pre-market craziness in effect, and that's what I was kind of hoping to scalp at this point. And again, carrying on the mentality that I still had from before the end of today of, hey, I'm looking for that 10% move at least. I'm looking for a break of the dollar mark, especially with this trade. And this was a little bit of a stop out here. I had this position is like 9.5, and I said, okay, if we pull back hard enough and break 9.6, then I'm definitely going to cut it. And I got shaken out a little bit here on this first one. As a fake out, it didn't actually break 9.6, but the bid was looking pretty weak, and I was saying this thing could gap down so quickly, especially in the pre-market. I do not want to be a part of it if it just starts to tank, especially with how far we are from VWAP at this point too. But volume was coming in eventually. We did break to a new high a day, messed around. Again, I bought here. Family's still around. Shouldn't have messed with this in the first few minutes of market open, but again, I chased it here right at the $1 mark that I got filled. I thought we were just going to continue to go a little bit more craziness, maybe 105, and then I could establish a stop right above my entry for that little scalp. Save myself, reward myself for what stupid of a trade that was, and ended up cutting for a stupid loss as it broke the open price. So then this was the one I did have a stop for my second entry here of we broke VWAP, but then actually reclaimed, held pretty well here. I like this consolidation, even with the red candle here, more volume stepping in along the way too, little stair stepper here. Pushing continual highs in this trend. Got a new high a day break to the upside, and then consolidating, holding a wide range here from 103 in wide range. Of course, this isn't actually crazy huge price range, but it was in the trade itself of 103 to 101. A 2-cent gap of how it was trading here. Could have gone either way, I thought, but of course it showed that the upside was definitely over, and I cut it as it needed to be cut, breaking VWAP. This was, I think I had to stop either at my exit or at my entry, I should say, 9.9. And I'm watching it break to the downside, break here, harder red candle coming in. I'm going, okay, shoot, wow, that trade's over. and I knew I was definitely done for the day anyway. But I hear no sound. I see no exit of my trade. It's just still holding stop order at 99 cents or whatever. And I'm going, very interesting why I'm not getting hit or why I'm not executing these orders. I don't know what it is. And I don't have a limit order in. It's just this market stop order at 99 to get me out. And of course, I don't want to do that with bigger size in the future, but with as small of a size that was anyway, just still baffled by why that happens. And I'm still going through the ranks of trying to understand how that works. So anyway, I just cut it actually for a even worse of a loss or worse of a P&L price under VWAP that did end up breaking even more. Just weird. A lot of different tickers on the day that they either faded directly from the open and just died out the whole rest of the market hours, or they had a little perk opportunity like this, or like DTST that just bounced around and did this little bitness, but faded. That's a lot of what I saw around the market today. Some other tickers. TGII was an OTC overnighter that I was looking at just as a follow-up. I knew I wasn't going to trade it, but to see what it did, see if these overnighters are actually working, and it did have a pretty hard sell-off right away from the gate. This is our morning break here. This line that it opened, I think, right actually below that close price, and then hard sell-off right away from the gate. And then another red name in the chat too said that potentially look for this one as a reclaim type of play, where if it sells off or we get a dip, he would actually be looking for this one for kind of a dip buy or continuation play. And that did play out a little bit over a longer term span intraday here, of course, with less volume. Just really not my cup of tea on these ones with how they trade, really the lack of volume. But the dailies look great, and that's kind of the price action. This one could continue to go up and break this penny high here that we see. So keep it up on the future. I won't be watching it very intensely, but certainly keeping an eye on it, and also using this as a barometer for penny stocks and OTC stocks in general. RNXT was another ticker that I wanted to mention. This is that recent IPO. They had a press release at like 6 a.m. Eastern time. Just something stupid and crazy. Not a lot of history on the daily, again, because that recent IPO. Just super volatile, $207 million volume on the day, but just not even a dip and rip opportunity. This is still so far from VWAP in a sense too. You're getting these hard red volume candles being put in as well, just selling, continually pounding that. So that was that one. And yeah, that's really all I had. I think Watchlist going into tomorrow, BBIG is 100% on the watch list for the day it had today and the close it's having as well too. These after hours are quite insane. We could have quite the spectacle on our hands coming in the next few days if more volume starts to come in. And this, once again, kind of becomes the only bell of the ball that everybody has their eyes on. We could get nice and squeezy the next few days. Don't really have any hard plans for it as of yet. Just see what it wants to do the rest of this after hours, how it works for the pre-market tomorrow. There's a huge distance from VWAP as well too, where we're trading currently. But exciting to see that it is a little bit more spiky. This could be this only sizzle that's left in it. And maybe we just start trending back down to this range and then begin a backside, chop down that little mountain again. Or we could see some more craziness come off of this as well too. I'm excited for either one. I'll keep a keen eye placed on that one. Other overnights in the OTC world, TLSS and ILUS, both of these, they look great on a daily, but just intraday, they just turn me off so hard. And looking at TLSS on daily, we're coming up to a nice range here, decent volume on the daily compared to everything else, but just intraday, it's mind-numbing to me to look at these types of candles in the wicks of how it's trading, the level 2 especially. ILUS, similar thing of just the dollar volume, any potential huge slippage if a panic starts to come in, and that is just a huge slap in the face to take. That I don't, especially what I want to be doing is focusing on the plays that I know that I can take in the future with a bigger position size, where I know I want to be in the future, where everything is pushing. That's what I want to focus on as well too. What is scalable as a trader in that sense, but. That is everything for me today. Yeah, I was pretty much out of the markets within 20, 30 minutes, I think. Just going out with some other activities with the family that was here. slower trading days on the market, I think making those few adjustments for me too is going to do wonders, not only for the psyche, but of course the P&L and just everything that I'm doing of trying to take that one single at a time, just taking the one small tiny step every single day, 1% better every single day. That's hard to equate to in profit size and P&L of 1% better every single day. But that is going to be the goal for me too, of adjusting those little tiny things that I think is going to be closer to riding me on the track too. That's every single day is refining those lines, driving everything and every process closer and closer to perfection that we want to see, mastering these charts. And never going to happen, but that's, the game we're playing in all this. Is just taking our little slice and running away as fast as we can. So I thank you guys so much for watching. We will catch you guys on the next one.